What's up, everybody? Yeah, 2 years, 2 months playing Magnum Quest, and it's time for me to move on. I haven't posted in a while if you haven't noticed, so I already made this decision, but yeah, I used 3 accounts. I was heavily invested into this game. One was my main spender I used since day one, and then I started 2 free-to-play accounts, which I enjoyed playing them both for a year. The game went through beta, early access, but your player's account progress wasn't wiped, so I already had a huge jump on my main when the game globally launched. I used this time to make content to hopefully help out new players be efficient when starting the game out with the information I had gathered and the mistakes to avoid that I made early on. If you don't know who this giraffe is, you probably don't care what I have to say next, but if you have supported me on this journey, or if you just recently started playing Magnum Quest, based off the recent activity numbers, this is highly unlikely, and want to hear my opinion from a veteran of the game on what went wrong, stick around. I won't be using a camera because I'm going to be honest with everyone, this game broke me down. This is the first mobile game that I've played in over 15 years that has literally broke me down. I've just never felt this disrespected. So if you want to stick around and hear what I have to say, let's get it. So, have I quit? Definitely. Will I return? Honestly, this game doesn't deserve its player base anymore. Mostly I've just been logging in for this video's material, but other than that, I have moved on. Barely logging in, haven't done trial in 5 months plus, and I also went guildless, which was pretty hard for me. I started logging in once every 3 to 4 days just to get my idle reward chest loot for blueprints, XP, and then closing the game. But eventually I stopped even doing that. Leaving my guild Bloodlust was actually one of the hardest things because they brought me in with open arms. They taught me a lot. They're an amazing group of people. So going guildless really hurt. But with this all out of the way, let's just start from the beginning. My channel blew up with Magnum Quest. Before this, I was a nobody covering some games that I have long forgot, and I'm sure even the App Store has as well. I unlisted the videos instead of deleting them because I do like to remember where I started from. I do have a habit of picking low-key games that no one has ever heard of and usually never lead to blowing up besides Magnum Quest, but yeah, still, I'm a nobody. I'm just a friendly giraffe trying to give out what I hope to be useful information. I just simply want to help players with whatever game I'm enjoying, playing consistently at the time, and having fun along the way. Alright, so pre-global. I made my first impressions video back in October 2020, and that's after playing the game for a month. Throughout this time, I've seen this game grow, fall off, gain popularity again, reach a plateau, encounter numerous bugs, grow again, etc. It's been a roller coaster. Whether it was from improving the visuals, such as graphics of the heroes, or slowly introducing new game modes, new heroes, new game features, I've seen this game go through it all. I spent my money and my time to really try and understand this game. I made a lot of mistakes along the way while losing motivation and then regaining motivation. As you can see from my main account, I am on server 2. I can't remember if the game first started with only one server or not, but if it did, server 2 came out soon after. After a quick Facebook browse, it looks like server 4 launched in October 2020. So server 2 probably was August or earlier. Basically what I'm trying to say is I played every day, maybe missed some here or there, up until recently obviously, but I have been here from the start. Fast forward to August 2021, Magnum Quest Global launches. Magnum Quest launches, and to my surprise, they actually invested into some advertising. I think a lot of these mobile games forget just how much advertising is needed to keep your game growing, and it's not even that expensive to do this. Many even neglect the social aspect like Discord or Facebook. On top of that, if they do advertising, many lie about in-game footage regarding graphics and gameplay. I honestly was surprised when I saw this trailer. Nicely edited, good pace, showcased interesting aspects, and it was pretty accurate to the game for the most part. So the company gained some respect from me, and then like everything else that has happened, they quickly lost it after I saw other Facebook misleading ads. But I'm sure you probably saw them. They're very low quality and look like a completely different game. One of them used a stolen idea with less than mediocre animations compared to the original, from Cote, I'm not sure how to pronounce this name, Animations, regarding the Squid Game. So this launched obviously when Netflix Squid Game came out. This was the best quality I could find. Anyways, so now the game has officially launched. It's global, it's available globally to Android, no more region locks, and now iOS. A new player base has entered the game. So global launch, this is where my channel started to blow up. Like I said earlier, the videos I stacked up earlier with info started getting crazy amounts of clicks. Like we're talking 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 views, and the community was very welcoming to a semi-old, but some days feeling really old giraffe. So with global, I had high hopes I would see positive changes. Some examples would be the Polar Night Star. You do various challenges, receive rewards, with the final chest having a few heroes to choose from. This was easy and it was decent rewards. Under Palace, you go through the maze levels completing challenges for rewards. This was one of my favorite game features. They added hard mode trial difficulty, better rewards with an increased challenge for players who are beating normal with their eyes closed. However, this went through many hiccups. Like we're talking, sometimes it just scaled poorly. I don't know what kind of algorithm or equations they were using over there. But yeah, say you didn't have a universal squad level of like this, where once you get 300, you start leveling all your heroes up at once. Before this, it's all up and down. You could have some heroes at like say 250, 200, whatever the milestones are. Say you leveled up that one of those heroes to 300, so you had a couple 300, but not all of them. Oh my god, it could make the difference from you actually being able to complete the hard trial to not even being close, just getting stomped. It was very weird. They had holiday specific events, which was always a fun time with different theming to the game, portrait and avatars to claim, rewards, etc. The problem is that the ratio between good and bad events was heavily one-sided because they flooded the game with ones like the Space-Time Barrage dungeon encounters. Another issue is the devs never understood their own game, so the rewards scaled poorly. What I mean by this is they catered to new players because mid, late, end game players needed different resources such as dragon scales, gold runes, star map, etc. There was so much to choose from, but instead they continued to give gold dice or regular summon tickets. This is a common issue that has plagued this game since the beginning. So anyways, you got these events that the devs, in my opinion, wasted their time coding, where they literally take 5 to 10 minutes to complete. The rewards were okay. I'm not saying they were useless, but anyways, they lasted I think like 20 to 30 days. It just made zero sense. 5 to 10 minutes to complete, lasting 20 to 30 days. I don't remember the exact time. Free rewards are free rewards, but slap on a challenge difficulty setting or each week reset rewards with different objectives. It's really not that complicated. They really took the term idle to the next level. Like they really did not want you to keep this game open. So the first red flag, it wasted no time to appear and it showed up in November, a little over 2 months after global launch. Apparently, there was a Facebook update that caused a problem with Magnum Quest players who bound their accounts to Facebook as their login method. Some used Google, some used Apple, some used Facebook, some used, I think, your email. But all these players were not able to log in after they logged out or switched devices. This was a bad image for the game, even if it wasn't their fault. They did put out a statement saying working on a solution as quickly as possible. This solution took, I believe, just over a week to fix. This means there were players unable to log in for an entire week. This is an idle game, and they heavily emphasize the term idle. Idle rewards are your resources, and these get capped. They do get increased by VIP level. They're still going to get capped until you log in and collect the rewards. How could a company make this right? Compensation. So let's look at what the devs justified being acceptable. The compensation was based off how long the player was unable to log in because of this issue. Here is a screenshot of a player who was locked out for the entire duration. I think it was like a little over a week. This was honestly a slap to the face. Not only were the amounts so small, all of this was easily achievable plus more as a new or newer player starting out the game, just doing your daily, weekly, trial, progression achievements, etc. if you didn't get locked out for a week. The biggest issue here as well, there's literally no idle reward resources. Where is the XP? Where is the barrel? The two biggest bottlenecks in this idle game that came from your idle reward chest, among other ways of course. It's scary that the devs sat down and discussed what seemed fair and they didn't even add these in. This is a game that has had nearly a year of feedback by now, but still, oh sorry for the week lockout, but here's a joke of a compensation where you might as well be starting your account from scratch, especially if you were competitive. Keep in mind, many other players were still grinding away, logging in daily, as long as they were not Facebook connected. If this issue happened to me as a new player and this is the compensation they gave me, I would have quit 100%, and I know many did. Creeping up very quickly was the second red flag, showing up only a month after, so good old December, just in time for the holiday spirit. The removal of the in-game redemption code feature. Apparently it had something to do with Apple's policy that the redemption function violates it and would cause MQ to be removed from the Apple platform if they chose to keep it. Why was this an issue? This meant that any new players were no longer able to redeem any currently active codes, and there was a very good one that was expiring at the end of the year, which was a free SIR copy. This is now the second game-breaking issue only a few months after global launch, causing the player base to further decline. So now we're getting into post-global. Between January and February of 2022, some events that were released were Puppet Wars, which is my all-time favorite. I'll get into that later. World Boss, the Neon Monster. There was also holiday ones. These are also some of my all-time favorites. More Dog Crap Space Time Mirage 5-minute encounters. New heroes, Shadow Faction Rose, who was a huge letdown, plus the Divinity Faction Liu Ling, I called him Panda, which this hero was actually pretty good. Trial of Romance for Valentine's Day, which was more annoying to do than anything, as it required specific heroes Bill and Cinia used, and the rewards were just not good. I even remember seeing some in-game offer, I think it was like $30 or something my currency, for friendship hearts. Friendship summon rates are horrendous. Why was this even an offer? Like, why was this? What was this? I don't know. Here's some footage from an old video. You can see the offer yourself. The rates are just so low. Look at the rates for friendship summons. Anyways, Plains Expeditions was a new PvP event which honestly saved what competitive player base was left in this game. Even though I extremely dislike PvP, I still enjoyed this as it banned certain factions from being used and allowed for more strategy to be brainstormed. Moving into March 2022, two core things happened here. The first thing, after 3 months, there was finally a solution to the redemption code feature that happened back in December. And they made an external website where you could go and enter your player ID plus the code and redeem them in your in-game mail. As you can see right here, better late than never, I suppose. Second, a roadmap was released. The community had been asking for something like this for quite a number of months by now, and they surprisingly delivered one. This was one of the things that I pushed very hard for with my content creator privileges, where I had access to talk directly to a community rep who could then relay this to devs, supposedly. One of the biggest reasons for me to have this was so I could actually have an idea what was being worked on for the future of this game. My content ideas, of course, and then what was being improved on currently. So for the month of March, it's going to be pretty quiet, just development testing, which I never thought they did based off the countless bugs in this game, numerous quality of life features still not added, and their overall lack of game knowledge. So based off this roadmap, everyone could see there was going to be a massive update in April. Now the hype for April's version was on the way. Many posts with redemption codes leading up to the version, teaser drops for content, game modes, etc. were happening throughout the month of March. The player base saw a spike after a massive decline because many who quit the game were returning in hopes the game was going to improve. For many who stuck by and were on this roller coaster of emotions, this was the make it or break it version to decide if they were going to quit. April arrives, and what a dumpster fire of an update this was, leading into my third red flag showcasing the devs' incompetence and still no understanding of their own game despite the player base countlessly giving positive suggestions for ways to fix core issues. Honestly, this update is just too much to cover, and I really don't want to relive that moment, so I'm just going to highlight the changes that sent me spiraling into a ring of fire, which is sadly almost the entire update. Cross-server guild recruitment removed. Disregard their spelling error, this game has plenty of that. It's plagued with translation problems, but yeah, any new servers added after this April update will only be able to guild recruit on that said server. The guild I would have stayed with if I wanted to continue playing, aka Bloodlust, shout out to this wonderful community that welcomed me in once again, would have to continue to scrape away at the bottom of the barrel to find replacements as more and more players quit the game. I don't know the exact last server, but let's say for example servers 1 to 100, I'm on server 2, can all still cross guild recruit, but from server 101 plus, these players cannot join guilds from those previous servers. We had hoped that this update would help us with that by giving us access to these newer players joining, but like, Still, the devs once again really screwed this up. There was also a lot of minimum requirements added to the game tying into this world feature that you needed to do in order to go further into the world feature. So to go further into the world feature to increase your idle rates, now you're stuck because you either had to spend money or just wait it out on idle rates that were already worse than what they were before this update. It was just like, I don't know, it was just mind-blowing how stupid this was. Guild change event from puppet cores to scramble for resources, but this once again pissed off a lot of players because, well, one, the event was literally the same thing. You challenged the same guild bosses and had the same hatred level rewards. They could have at least changed up one of those or simply reset the hatred rewards. And then two, the change warranted less diamonds outcome and more uncertainty. This event was based around your guild attendance, which after removing cross-server guild recruiting was hard enough, you could lose to a much weaker guild since they had an active 50-player roster, reoccurring in-game pop-up offers. Oh my god, this was so frustrating. Now, I can't fully remember if this was introduced with April's version, but this was the worst way to go about getting players to spend money. I'm fine with opening up the game for the first time and hit with some pop-up offers. I close them out. It's not a big deal. Happens in every single game nowadays. In this game, not only did this happen, it's every single time you open the game, whether switching servers, accounts, closing and reopening, and on top of this, it's on a goddamn timer. So even if you have the game open, which not many players even did anymore, they just got their dailies and left, and then you close these offers, just give it a few moments, give it a little bit, and it pops up again. 2 words, greed and stupidity. So that's just some of the negatives that I had about the update. Let's go over the positives. You had the Xander pop-up shop, different ways to trigger this, but it should pop up a couple times a week and has solid offers, whether for dragon shards or money. One of the variations is this, for example. They can include dragon scales, blueprint chests, chests of lights, etc. The introduction of the forest hero Shale. This hero kept what little enjoyment I had left because of the bonkers boss damage numbers she could put up. However, at the same time, the bugs in this game were all over the place and she missed her ultimate beam damage over and over despite even if you rocked the hit build. Major frustration when trying to do boss fights with the constant retries because one missed beam from her is millions and millions of damage for me. The endless 1000 free summons, this is somewhat positive because even though it was aimed more towards new players, newer players, or simply players who didn't spend much, it did help out my whale account a little bit. I can't really complain on this one because if I didn't spend so much, I would have needed these 1000 summons. Pretty straightforward, you complete quests and you get summons. The Under Palace became permanent with a 2-week leaderboard reset. Besides Shale, this was another feature that kept me interested in the game a little longer. However, as I continued doing it, I became to hate it. They revamped the game mode and surprisingly made the leaderboard rewards worth the frustration of grinding and trying for the top times, as you can see here from the rewards. However, the main point was to run this to get 30 chests of lights, which were used for star map resources. It is a nice feature for both free-to-play and spenders, but this is painful, and I mean painfully frustrating, running countless times on the hardest difficulty for the best chance, and you're still only getting 10, which is the minimum amount, since it's 10 or 30 due to terrible RNG. Sometimes I would need to run it over 35 times, 40 times, 50 times as an example, just to get one run where I got 30. But unfortunately, due to the limited options for this resource, you needed to do this for this game mode. However, a lot of players stopped caring and they just took 10. Oh, and they also removed Shabby Shelter. If you weren't around when Shabby Shelter was in the game, this was one of the best features in the game. You could speedrun the maze level to level 3, check to see if the Shabby Shelter was there. It had awesome offers for dragon shards, and then they removed it, and then I hated that decision. And finally, a missed opportunity, the Forge system. Now, this one doesn't really go under negative or positive. It's more so a missed opportunity, the Forge system. I first want to say this had potential to be really good for the game, but the lack of dev knowledge, once again, amazes me. They introduced this system, but totally forget to include core items needed to minimize or completely remove your chance of failure when forging, and you're going to fail a lot. As you increase the forge level, the failure rate increases, and you will definitely notice this, especially at Legendary 2 based off my experience. I mean, even just trying to get your 5-star gear to Legendary sucks, but at least they were smart enough to introduce the resources needed to reduce this rarity fail chance, but oh yeah, it's limited to paid services and the off chance in the guild store, which also resets once a week. And this system ties into the revamped Awakened Demons, where you can't even idle gold runes anymore because you can only dispatch one demon at a time. You would think since there's 2 other free slots, they would have added those by now. Think again. So now gold runes are even harder to come by because if you idle Ash, this boss doesn't drop blueprints to forge your gear. So you set yourself back progression. So now you have to choose the demon you want to idle on and have the option to increase the drops by Drums of Fury. But the bronze drums, which are the lowest of the rarity, you literally can't get anywhere once you complete your world quests and use them all up. So where do you get the silver drums, which is the second quality? Oh, you can buy them 4 per week in the deluxe shop. Gold drums, which is the highest rarity, can only be acquired from, you guessed it, paid services. It was an interesting system, but like terrible execution. Besides new pay-to-win heroes being released, the Abyss faction heroes Ryan and the Elder, the other thing that really ticked me off was on May 27th, they teased a Facebook post of a new boss, then another on June 10th, and then finally a third on July 14th. 3 bosses. I love bosses. Not one boss has been introduced into the game yet. So after hearing all this, did I even have a positive experience with this game? My top 3 positives since global launch, bosses. Puppet Wars, although nothing has changed since its introduction, still one of the most fun game modes for my playstyle. They never bothered changing the bosses, never bothered changing their skills, anything like that. But I always never cared for PvP. I love trying to figure out optimal builds for specific situations. This was also the best thing for the game for guild involvement. I won't even speak about guild versus guild because of how much of a flop that was, whether referring to rewards, matchmaking, or how the points were distributed. Holiday event bosses, so this is another banger of a feature. However, they stopped doing it only after 1 holiday rotation. I really enjoyed these because they were new and added enjoyment chasing the leaderboards for overall damage or experimenting with setups, so it is unfortunate that they stopped. Guild boss, scramble boss. Unfortunately, I don't have access, like I said, since I'm no longer in a guild. But if you're in a guild, you've seen them. Once again, I just wish they made simple updates like increasing the guild boss hatred level, increasing the rewards, having a rotating faction boss, etc. It's been the same stuff. Nothing new, gets old very quick. Number 2, gold runes, surprisingly. Runes were terrible to make before they introduced the decomposing and reconstruction feature, which I don't even remember when they did this. Before this, what you got was what you got. In my opinion, gold runes are the hardest thing in this game. XP is up there, but it's an idle game. I don't expect them to just give out XP. Before this change, you would enhance up your rune to max slots and the stats you got were there to stay. You could have rolled crit damage and then say like minus magic damage taken the last 3 times and you couldn't do anything else with this. You were now stuck with this garbage rune. Skip ahead to the change I mentioned, now you have 2 more options. Decomposing. Before this, they did kind of have this feature. When you used it, you got breasts according to the rarity of your rune, bronze, silver, or gold, which were used as enhancement materials for other runes. But now you also got back those rune stats as materials, and the quantity was based off what slot they were in. So for example, for this rune slot 1, crit damage means I get back 1 crit damage stat. Slot 2, crit damage means I get back 1 crit damage stat. Slot 3, crit means I get back 2 crit stat. Slot 4, crit damage means I get back 3 crit damage stats. And then finally slot 5, crit damage means I get back 4 crit damage stats. This is why enhancing gold runes to the max was much more beneficial, especially if the rune was mediocre and slot 5 rolled a nice stat like crit damage, haste, attack speed, because you got 4 of those stats back. So you didn't feel nearly as bad when it rolled stats you didn't want, which now brings up reconstruction. Reconstruction allowed you to use those rune stat materials, keep in mind you need 3, to then try and roll them on a random slot of your fully enhanced gold rune. Yes, the RNG was painful. I spent literally thousands of dollars on my runes, and there were times I rolled 30 times to roll crit damage on my last slot. That means it took me 90 crit damage stat materials. It's an insane system, but if you're lucky, and this has happened to me even on my free-to-play accounts, like I'll show you some right here, you can perfect a rune relatively fast without spending any money, but it takes a lot of time and luck. Still, the system has improved vastly over time, which can't be said about 90% of everything else with this game. And then number 3, it is for the most part, despite the changes it has went through, a free-to-play friendly game. But of course, there are game aspects that will be a nightmare for you and require lots of waiting to accumulate the resources such as star map, runes, or rare faction heroes. Now for my top 3 negatives. Now there's so many to list here, but these are the ones that when I think of, I just get really upset. So number 1. The complete lack of dev communication since the beginning. Examples would be like this Facebook post. Hey, we're back, yada yada, this was on August 30th. Then basically crickets, once again, up until this post. I honestly can't understand how a game company can go silent like this and think it's okay. They just run the game on autopilot, taking money from whatever players still spend. Simply put, they are crooks. Like look at the Discord game announcements. It's been the same copy-pasted messages for months. Ridiculous dev feedbacks that used to happen once a month but only made it through maybe a couple, where literally no additional information is given other than, yeah, we heard the community, it's being worked on. And also apparently taking the top suggestions in the Discord to be answered, but then answering questions regarding voice acting. Never saw this as a top suggestion ever. It was not only addressed in 1, but 2 developer Q&As. This takes up question spots of more concerning topics. It's not professional, it doesn't make sense. What's the point of the suggestion feedback channel in the Magnum Quest Discord, which by the way is now a dead server? The amusing roadmap, that's all I need to say. To me, their lack of communication shows unprofessional behavior and lack of respect for the players, whether free to play or spenders. Number 2, complete lack of game knowledge. Clearly they never played their own game, or if they did, they probably quit after the tutorial and said, yeah, this looks good, introduce the monetization and run with it. Examples would be like the hero squad limit. I checked my YouTube videos and found an old video dated where the hero squad limit was 20. This was back in January 2021. So I mean, they did improve the limit, but 35 when there's now 45 heroes, it's a joke. It makes it frustrating when doing puppet wars, it makes it frustrating when doing faction towers, the constant removal of heroes in your squad, adding another, sometimes forgetting you did it. It's just a lot of frustration with a very simple fix that they never did. Under Palace Battle verification error, this was apparently fixed, but it really wasn't. This happens every leaderboard reset on Sunday, so every 2 weeks, since this is now a permanent feature. But yeah, you literally can't complete battles, so the game mode is not playable for that one day. Numerous other game bugs such as hero skills, animations, and translation errors, lack of content where it underperformed or was power rating gated. There's a crapload more, but these were just a few that like really bothered me. And then finally, number 3, April versions update. I already went over this issue, but to sum this all up, it felt like they tried to relaunch the same game as a quick cash grab and to rope in new players while pretty much ignoring the veteran players, saying, yeah, whatever, you guys have been here, that's nice, we want these new players, let's just cater towards them so we can get some easy money. And now we're here after I don't even know how long this video is, I don't even know who's still listening, but my final thoughts, I really wanted this game to succeed. I really thought it would. But this is a perfect example of a missed opportunity and how quickly a game can crash and burn due to developer incompetence. This game didn't even make it to year 1. In fact, based off the numbers, I would say after Global in August 2021, this game barely made it to half a year. Some have said to me, but Giraffe, you spent thousands of dollars. That's why this game became boring. That's why players leave, because they wailed their way to the end in a matter of weeks. That's why there's no returning player base and the game declined. This is not the point I'm trying to make. I played this game a year before Global, basically. You could have spent as little as $1 or as much as I have in the high thousands. The point I'm trying to make is this company is a joke. The developers have no idea what they're doing, and they have sat there for months, not just a month, many months with no communication, no updates, no nothing, just taking whatever money they can from the players. It's disrespectful and honestly a scam. I had my hopes wither away since Global launch, and honestly, I haven't been able to recommend this game since like a few months after Global because of everything, especially now given the current state of the game that it's been in. So I really only see veteran players hanging on because of the time and money invested, which I can understand fully. Maybe there is new players, but they will soon find out the truth. The player base has reduced in numbers dramatically, good luck finding an active guild, and I feel this game will shut down early this year. I have been told, or has been talk about in the Discord, that they're waiting until Chinese New Year, there's supposed to be an update. So yeah, if that update doesn't happen, I can just imagine February of this year, this game will shut down. The amount needed to regain my trust with this company for me to ever consider downloading and playing this game again, or any other game they got going on over there in the workshop of lies, is just too much. It's 99% unlikely. I appreciate everyone who has supported me on this Magnum Quest journey, as I loved helping out the community, but I feel knocked down, kicked, and laughed at by the too yo, too you, too shit company, as all players should, and it's turned out to be one of my worst experiences with a mobile game. I ended up deleting all my videos on 2U's, whatever the game company is called, Other Game Endless Journey, because it just felt disrespectful to everyone in this community. I simply played it for 2 months to see what was going on, to see if they've maybe put all their resources into this game, given up on Magnum Quest. Unfortunately, it's heavily pay-to-win influenced with cash-heavy events. I don't see it doing well, and honestly, I recommend avoiding any games backed by this company because they seem to have only making quick cash on their mind. Maybe I'll meet you, my viewers, in another game. I have currently picked up Infinite Magic Raid and have 3 accounts going over there, so I'll probably push some content, but for now, Magnum Quest, it's been a roller coaster of a ride that I want off of. As always, thanks for everyone who's watched my videos, and if you've made it up to the end of this video, you drove my motivation. I appreciate you more than you could know. This world lacks kindness, and this Magnum Quest community has given me so much, but it's this giraffe's time to walk away.